Until very recently, I used to think that Brock Lawley, known here on YouTube as the AtheistAntidote, was a wordsmith of sorts, a man very fluid and crafty with his speech, even though I didn't agree with just about anything he said. But I was watching one of his videos he made about a month ago called An Atheist Building, a Christian Foundation, where he talked about a kind of interesting building.
Years ago, Ohio State opened the Wexner Center for Performing Arts on its campus. Newsweek hailed it as the first atheist building or deconstructionist building ever.
I was interested in seeing what this looked like, so I Googled it and found an interesting quote by Ravi Zacharias. And just for your convenience sake, I'll put Zacharias' quote on the screen and play the beginning of Brock's video underneath so that you can read along.
Years ago, Ohio State opened the Wexner Center for Performing Arts on its campus. Newsweek hailed it as the first atheist building or deconstructionist building ever. It had white scaffolding that was all mixed up. It had Colorado grass pods to evoke a second double take. The strangeness of this building, the puzzlement, only intensified when you entered it. Inside the building, you'd encounter staircases that went to nowhere. Pillars that hung from the ceiling purposeless. The architect even had strange angled surfaces in the ceiling to create a sense of vertigo. The architect, an atheist, said he created the building to reflect life as it is. Incoherent, purposeless, meaningless. A Christian theist was in earshot when he heard this nonsense, and he said to the architect, "Did you do the same with the foundations?"
And even though Brock's statement was almost verbatim with Zacharias' quote, he doesn't feel the need to credit him within the video or even in the sidebar of the video. So just to be fair and to make sure this wasn't an isolated incident, I went to one of his more recent videos titled Defeating Godless Secularism and picked a random quote in the middle.
Today in all these universities, natural science and godlessness claims all authority to describe reality. Progress claimed the role of God. Social reform claimed the role of salvation.
After Googling that quote, I came across a book review by Philip Johnson, and again I'll put that quote up on the screen while playing the beginning of Brock's video in the background. And keep in mind, no credit was given to Johnson anywhere in the video, nor was it given in the sidebar.
Today in all these universities, natural science and godlessness claims all authority to describe reality. Progress claimed the role of God. Social reform claimed the role of salvation.
And reading through this book review, it seems Brock took a whole lot more of his video directly from it. This sort of plagiarism, where you cut a few sentences out and change a few words here and there, may have cut it in grade school, but anybody who was past high school freshman English knows that this is unacceptable. But it's also fairly ironic, considering that Brock accuses atheists of just regurgitating arguments from Dawkins.
Okay? You have no idea the kind of PMs I get. If it is on a Dawkins and Harris website, it is literally cut and paste into a PM to me.
It really is pretty interesting to see this psychological projection in action. But maybe you're watching this and you're an AtheistAntidote fan, and you don't care about one or two phrases lifted from outside sources. Well, following this, I present you with Brock's video titled Atheism equals Materialism equals Fatalism, with overlays from the second chapter of Gilbert Cheston's book, Orthodoxy. And please note that in this video there's no credit anywhere to Gilbert Cheston, and I have not altered it in any way.
Thoroughly worldly people never understand even the world. It is a shame, really, but if you really look at the world right now, these modern masters of science who think that they've expanded reason, in fact, have done very little but contract real common sense, a way of really living your life. They've convoluted, they've muddied the waters. It's dawned on me recently that materialism alone, has sort of an insane simplicity to it. They think they've covered everything, but in fact, really, they've just left everything that matters about life out. In a futile attempt at understanding everything in the world, eventually you get to the point that nothing is really worth understanding anymore. And those of you with wisdom in your mind, you know that's true. You found that to be true. So when you strip all the veneer, the materialist philosophy, it's much more limiting than any religion on. The Christian is only restricted in the same sense that the atheist is restricted. He can't think that Christianity is false and continue to be a Christian. The atheist can't think godlessness and nothingness is false and continue to be an atheist. It's really on an equal playing field in that sense. However, in a lot of real ways, the restrictions, the cage on materialism goes far beyond anything that a religion, any limit, and I would argue that those limits are all facade, but any limit that could be perceived to be on a man of faith, a woman of faith. The Christian is free to believe that there's a considerable amount of settled order and development in the universe. That's not a restriction that he has on him. But the materialist, he is not allowed to admit into his bland mind even the slightest speck of miracle or spiritualism in any sense. Materialists and madmen, they have one very scary thing in common. It's a scary thing within a human mind, a psyche. They never have any doubts. Spiritual doctrines, they don't limit the mind as do materialistic denials. Think about it. Materialism, it ends in fatalism. It always ends in fatalism. History proves that. Even your own life proves that. It is amazing to see an atheist say that he is advancing free thought when he only really uses that free thought to crush free will. And that is exactly what godlessness does. It is so fitting that they call evolutionary law a chain of causation because it is a chain around the neck of the human spirit and the human mind. And this is the reason people like me don't care for that cup of tea. They may use the language of liberty to sell their materialist theory, but in reality, it is a mind locked up. The material fatalist is best represented by a serpent eating its own tail, a deranged mind that in the end consumes even itself. The materialist mind, the materialist reasoning, it is reason used without reasonable roots. It is reason in the void. A poisoned mind, a mind that does not first think with proper principles, brings every thought from the wrong end. They don't come to bring you life sight, they come to blind you, and sadly, such a mind, it eventually goes mad. You can take it to the bank.
So, Brock, what do you have to say for yourself?